Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. In today's video, I'll be using Paper Rose Studio's Artsy Print 6x6 paper collection. When I first pulled out the Artsy Print collection, I thought about combining it with Paper Rose's Fine Print collection, but I ended up not using the second collection. Both collections are also available in the 12x12 size. The 6x6 paper collection includes 18 double-sided pattern papers, 3 each of 12 designs. In the Artsy Print collection, one side has beautiful, colorful images, and the back side has a black and white design. One sheet also includes some small cut-aparts. These are all 2 by 2 inches in size. So if you prefer the larger size of the cut-aparts, you may want to look into the 12x12 collection. And I will provide links for all of the products in the description box below. Now here's a look at the Fine Print 6x6 paper collection. It also includes 18 double-sided pattern papers, 3 each of 12 designs. And as you can see, is all black and white, looks like newspaper or magazine clippings. And there's also one design that's a black and white image with lots and lots of books on a bookshelf. I think this looks like a really fun and interesting paper collection to use. For me, it just didn't work well with the Artsy Print collection. So I'll set that aside and use it another time. Let's go ahead and get started with card design number 1. With so many beautiful pattern papers, I did keep my cards fairly simple. I didn't want to cover up the lovely patterns. I cut the background piece to 3 7/8 of an inch by 5 1/8 of an inch, and I'm layering it on some black cardstock. The cardstock layer is just under 1/8 of an inch larger. I wanted a very narrow border around the pattern paper piece. I'll layer that piece on some of the black and white gingham paper, put ATG tape on the back, and add my card front onto a card base. All of my cards in this video are American Standard A2 size, 4 1/4 inches by 5 1/2 inches. For a sentiment, I'm adding thank you, and this is a cut apart from Paper Rose's Big Sentiment 1.0 Sentiment Sheet Pack. I love their sentiment sheet packs. Super easy way to add a sentiment without stamping, and they offer a wide variety of different packs. I cut a fishtail on the right side, and I'm layering this sentiment on some silver holographic cardstock. Also cut a fishtail on the right side, and I'll adhere the two together, creating this beautiful holographic shine underneath the sentiment. Before adhering the sentiment, I'll first add a stitch circle die cut, and I cut this out from vellum. To adhere the vellum circle, I'm putting a little bit of glue underneath, just in the area where the sentiment cut apart will go. I think by having the vellum circle underneath the sentiment, it adds a little more separation from the background. For card design number 2, I'm using a card sketch for inspiration. This is from MFT. It's number 650. I selected another beautiful pattern paper for the background, lots of teals and blues. It was a little hard to cover up some of the beautiful background pattern paper, but I did add a panel of teal cardstock and also a narrow strip of one of the black and white pattern papers. I'll layer the background on some dark blue cardstock, put ATG tape on the back, and add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. For the circle element on the card sketch, I used a stitch circle die from Paper Rose and cut out a circle from their Mandala card front silver collection. The entire collection is covered in beautiful silver foil detail. It's beautiful. I cut out a second circle the same size, and I'll adhere the two together, and that'll help add more stability behind the silver foil circle. Before adhering it to the card, I'm also putting some scrap cardstock pieces on the upper portion of the circle and just a tiny piece at the bottom. That way it stays nice and level over all the other layers on the card. For a sentiment, I've stamped out "Have a Super Day" on some craft cardstock. This is from Paper Rose's Super Day Sentiment Stamp Set. I'll cut the right side at an angle, then I'll adhere it onto a narrow piece of teal cardstock, also cutting the right side at an angle. I'll put glue on the back and add the sentiment in the upper left-hand corner. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. With all the beautiful detail on the pattern paper, I didn't feel the card needed anything else. Part of the design of the pattern paper almost looks like embellishments. For card design number 3, the card sketch is from Freshly Made Sketches. This is number 601. For the background of the card, selected this fun pattern paper that has lots of words. It looks like someone took a book or magazine and ripped narrow strips, then glued them together. And some of the words are right side up and others are upside down. At the bottom of this panel, I added a strip of the black and white gingham paper and a narrow strip of light purple cardstock that's pre-embossed with little polka dots. I'll layer the background piece on some black cardstock, put ATG tape on the back, and add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. Next, I'll add this beautiful pattern paper panel. Has lots of triangles in the background and some foliage pieces on the left side. I'll layer it on some black cardstock, then adhere it onto the card. I selected one of the 2x2 cut-aparts. I'll layer it on some black cardstock. I'll put glue on the back and adhere it in the lower right-hand corner, with just the very right side of this square going off of the background design. For a sentiment, I've already stamped out "Just for You," and this is from the same Super Day Sentiment Set. It's a small stamp set, but it has a nice variety of different sentiments. I cut the left side at an angle, and I'll adhere it in the lower left-hand corner of the cut-apart image. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. For card design number 4, the card sketch is from Freshly Made Sketches. This is number 600. This is one of my favorite cards. I love the beautiful colors on the background. Probably not something I would have chosen, but I think it works really well together. I cut down the background piece to 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, layered it on some brown cardstock. Then I'll put my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. For the narrow strip going across the card, I cut out 2 of them, one from vellum and the other from some dark teal cardstock. I'll adhere the 2 pieces together so you'll see just a tiny bit of the vellum underneath and on the left side of the teal strip. Then I'll adhere it to the card lower than what's indicated on the card sketch. I didn't like the look of it sitting on top of the leafy branches on the background paper. Next, I'll add an orange stitch circle die cut. Before adhering it to the card, I will put the scrap cardstock pieces above and below where it goes over the teal strip of cardstock. For a sentiment, I've already stamped out "Get Well Soon." And this sentiment is part of Paper Rose's With Love Sentiment Stamp Set. It's another small stamp set with a nice variety of sentiments. I'll cut the right side at an angle. Before adhering it to the card, I'll put a scrap cardstock piece on just the right side where it goes off of the circle die cut. Inside the circle, I'll be adding 2 small foliage die cut pieces. These are from Paper Rose's Dainty Foliage die set. I cut them out from the same dark teal cardstock. One foliage piece leans right and the other left. I'll put glue on the back and adhere both of the foliage pieces onto the orange circle. One of the leaves will sit on the sentiment banner. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. I love the colors and design of the pattern paper, and I think this would work well as a masculine or feminine card. For card design number 5, the card sketch is from Freshly Made Sketches. This is number 599. I haven't used a lot of the black and white side of the pattern paper, so I thought I would feature more of it on my final card design. I cut a 1-inch strip of the black and white diagonal stripe paper, adding it on some black cardstock. For the large panel of the card, I'm using this lovely black and white foliage piece. I'll first layer it on some black cardstock, then I'll adhere it onto the background of the card. Next, I'll layer that piece on some teal cardstock. Put ATG tape on the back and add my card front onto a card base. Most of the card will be black and white, but I am adding those pops of color. For the small rectangle on the left side of the card, I selected one of the lovely pattern papers that I featured on a previous card, and I did cut this panel just slightly wider than what's indicated on the card sketch. This is 2 inches by 3 1/4 of an inch. I'll layer it on some black cardstock, then adhere it on the left side of the card. Next, I'll add a stitch circle die cut, and this is one of the square cut aparts. I'll layer the cut apart on a larger circle die cut, and I use some beautiful iridescent vellum for that larger circle. I'll adhere the 2 circles together, then adhere it on the panel on the left side of the card. For a sentiment, I've already stamped out hello, and this stamp is from the With Love sentiment stamp set. I'll cut the left side at an angle and adhere it on the left side of the circle cut apart. For a final finishing touch, I'm using a small piece of black cardstock. I'll cut a fun banner and adhere it in the upper right-hand corner of the black and white pattern paper panel. I first cut a fishtail on the bottom, then I cut the right side in slightly at an angle, flipped it over, and did the same thing on the other side. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. The second card features different pattern paper and a cut apart, since I didn't have any more duplicates to make the same card. Now here's another look at the 10 cards I made using Paper Rose Studios Artsy Print 6x6 paper collection. This is a beautiful collection. I love the colors mixed with all the black and white designs. If you are interested in any of the products I used in this video, I do have links provided in the description box below. Paper Rose is located in Australia, and they do ship their products internationally, but you can also purchase them here in the US, and I have links for both locations in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.